So, hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hoping there's some gentlemen out there. I'm actually thinking of doing a little Facebook thing called Men Quilt Too, because a lot of men do quilt, and a lot of men are excellent quilters. So, every once in a while, we get a product here in the store that kind of sits around and it's unloved, and mostly because nobody knows what to do with it. So I want to introduce everybody to this. This is, everybody's used to our regular 100% cotton batting, and we call that number 4. So it's an average batting weight. This is our number 8 cotton batting. So you can imagine it's quite a bit thicker. In fact, I got a little sample here. Dawn has done such a pretty little display. So this is our number 8 batting, and it's pretty hard to tell on camera, but it's kind of thick and maybe not quite as flexible as what we would want in a quilt. So it sits in the back and it's sad. So I thought I would tell you a couple of the neat things you can do with number 8 batting. First of all, and I didn't bring my samples in, it makes great slippers. If you have a pattern for homemade slippers out of quilting cotton, this is great to put inside the slipper. It has a little more stiffness, holds its shape beautifully, and it's lovely to wear. The other thing that I've used this for, I've got a couple of them, and I'm thinking of getting another, is a dish drying mat. So even though we all have dishwashers and we use them quite regularly, there's still the odd thing that we want to hand wash. Maybe it's the big roasting pan or the delicate crystal glasses, so on. So they go on the counter, and we could use those big trays, the big stand-up things, but then what do you do with those afterwards? Or sometimes, I know for years I was just throwing down a tea towel on the counter, and that's not super absorbent. So I made myself a couple of dish drying mats, and I used the number 8 cotton inside, so I can vouch for the fact that this works. So I'm going to show you really quickly how this goes together. So what I have here, and this is what Dawn has prepared, she's done a few little kits up for us, is a piece of our number 8 cotton, and it's approximately 18 inches by 22, so that it would fit a fat quarter of fabric. And on top of that, right side up, I have smoothed one piece of fabric, and I've just smoothed it out. I haven't worried about basting it. And then I'm going to take my other piece of fabric and put it face down and smooth that out nicely. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to stitch around the outside of this, and we want to leave an opening so that we can turn it. And I'm going to leave an opening about this big, and because I like to make sure that all of my corners are turned in the sewing machine. It just makes for a cleaner look. So I'm just working on a Brother machine. This is our 3050, and I have on here, what I have on here is the Brother Move It foot. It's got a if I lower that foot down, it has almost a roller strip here that just moves the fabric along. So anytime you're sewing on something that's a little larger or a little thicker than usual, it's good to use a walking foot, a Move It foot. And I'm going to just sew, and I'm going to stitch back, and yes, they squeak, and I'm going to increase my stitch length a little bit there. So now I'm just going to take a standard seam. I was talking to Dawn as we were getting things ready, and we were kind of going, well, there's so many things that you could do with this. When you finish your dish drying mat, you could use this a similar fabric and make a coordinated set of kitchen things. And I'm not worried about how big a seam allowance. I'm going somewhere between my 1/4 inch and about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, because I'm going to trim these edges down and I'm going to try and keep things smooth. Now you could use, and Dawn's put some out here behind me, you could use tea toweling for this so that it's super absorbent, especially if you're making tea towels as part of a gift. It would be nice if everything kind of coordinated. There we go. Okay, so I have that just stitched round the edge. Now what I'm going to do is trim those seam allowances, and if I had the gear close by, I could certainly trim this with a rotary cutter. And then, because we're going to be turning this, when I get to the corner, I want to make sure I cut across so that that corner turns nicely. So you could do a coordinated little kitchen set with a dish drying mat with the number 8 cotton. You could do pot holders with some of our Bright insulated batting and possibly a layer of the number 8 for comfort. You could throw in a few of the microwave bowls. All of our batting is 100% cotton, so it's safe to use in the microwave. I have found that the number 8 batting is almost a bit too thick for the microwave bowls, but the number 4 batting, the slightly thinner cotton, works perfect. There we go. So I have stitched, I'm going to cut my thread here all the way around, and now we're just going to turn this guy. There we go. This is why we call it pillow casing when we sew. There we go. Tuck that corner out nice and pointy. We're going to do a little Facebook, I think, somewhere down the road on some of the wonderful tools we have for turning corners and making nice sharp points in things. I'm just going to give my scissors a little workout here. So now what I've got, I'm going to start stitching around the edge where my opening is. So that's like 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going to enclose that and do a nice top stitching. And this move it foot, despite the fact that it squeaks, does a great job of working with these thicker fabrics. Just keeps everything nice. Now, of course, if you want, you can get really, really fancy and do decorative stitching. There we go. So there is our almost completed mat. We could leave that the way it is, but personally I like to add a little bit of quilting just through it, just so that it kind of keeps everything from shifting too much. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We just have to decide, do we want to do straight lines or diagonals? And I think I'm going to do straight lines just because I'm in a straight line kind of mood on that. You don't have to quilt them densely. The ones I have at home, I did maybe 3 or 4 inches apart. They've gone through the washer, the dryer, the washer, the dryer. That's the nice thing with these, is you can wash them. You wash them, you pop them in the dryer, they come out just fine. And of course they are going to dry relatively quickly. I just hang mine on my stove handle because we always hang things on our stove handles. And they seem to dry just fine. Now it's not going to hurt if I want to move over. I think I'll go over about that far. I can overstitch. And I think we're going to leave it at that for today. There we go. So, one drying mat inside of about a half an hour. That might benefit from a little bit more quilting. Maybe go across this way on it. But I think it's stable enough the way it is. And it's kind of cheery in your kitchen. And you can use, as you can see, Dawn's made some kits here out of the same fabric that I used. You can use, obviously, tea toweling or any of our wonderful, wouldn't it be fun just to look at that lovely, lovely citrusy one. I'm going to hold that up like that. That would be so cute, sitting on your counter, hanging on your stove handle to dry. And you could use the same fabric to put a little coordinating strip on a piece of tea toweling and just make a lovely shower or wedding gift, Christmas gift. Yes, it's not too early. Not too early to start thinking, because it will be upon us before we know. So that's what I have for you today. I think they're kind of fun. Fat quarter of 2 pieces of fabric and some of our lovely, definitely underloved number 8 batting. And I think it's just a great, great little project. Don't forget, stay calm, stay kind, stay safe, and thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.